Standing on camera correctly here? I'm kind of off. All right, we good? Marty, we good on camera? Where I'm standing is good? Stephen, get the camera. Let me know when you're ready.
What do you got, Greg? What do you want here? Is two good enough? Okay, do you want to flip it?
Okay, we on air? We're all good? Check, check, 1, 2. Okay, good. Test, test. Everything good? Okay. All right. Okay. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Thank you. Okay, so let's just kind of review what we're going to be doing here real quickly. And, only 10, 12 minutes late, not too bad. Okay, so since it is now after sundown, it is now the Rosh Chodesh for the month of Tevet. We're going to do a Rosh Chodesh service. And so that's all going to be screen driven. So for those on live stream, we're going to be basically just showing you the slides and participating with that. And you can recite and read out loud at home or at your gatherings where you are what's going to have on the screen. And I will be just doing it from the mic, reading from the screen as well, once we get it up on the screen. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and light the 7 candles for the 7th night of Hanukkah, which began now after sundown. Okay, so it's the 7th night. And we'll light those candles. And we'll recite the blessings as a group here together. And then we have the YMTOI classes singing some Hanukkah songs. Okay, and we'll have that. Yeah, that'll be great. Accompanied by Brianna. She'll be playing on the keyboard with them. And then, of course, I know you guys would love to participate in this, but that's when we're going to be eating all the donuts and the refreshments and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so we will be broadcasting up until that point, and right through the after the songs, and then I'll say something. I know you find it surprising, but I'll probably have something to say. And then we'll go ahead and end and have our desserts and some dancing and other things that we're going to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with the Rosh Chodesh service. Okay, the sounding of the silver trumpets first. Okay, so I guess that's me. All right, amen, amen. All right, so we're going to switch now to the slides. And so everybody here can just go ahead and recite along. Actually, why don't we all stand up? Let's rise for this. Okay, now I know some parts say leader and some parts say everybody. I have no problem if everybody just says everything. It's okay, fine. All right, together from Psalm 51, verse 15. Yahweh sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. From Numbers 10:10. Also in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and in the beginnings of your months. You shall blow with trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. And by the way, that was not saying anything about the level of the cooking we had for, okay, it didn't taste like burnt offerings or anything. It was good. Okay. I'm just saying in case anybody had their feelings bag empty. Okay, now. Kedushat Levanah, sanctification of the new moon. O Yahweh, our Elohim, and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor. A life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin. a life free from shame and reproach, a life of prosperity and honor, a life in which love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us, a life in which our heartfelt desires are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. The new moon of the month of Tevet is today. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Yisrael. May the set-apart one, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation, and let us say, Amen. Blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one, blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens, Yahweh is his name, rejoice before his face. His name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. From Isaiah 66, together, for as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen. Again, Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right. See if I can do this way. You guys may be seated for a minute here. Okay, because I'm going to talk just for a second or two. Okay, so as always, I like to say a few encouraging words about the new month. You know, Yahweh gives us, and even as a society, we look for times, markations of times to use as moments of renewal, an opportunity to say, okay, this is a clean start. And we certainly can do that on a weekly basis, a daily basis, and we can do this from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh. Okay, this is the beginning of a new month. And like we read in the blessings and the prayers, may it be a blessing to all of us and to all Israel as we go forward. And so, you know, a lot of us are thinking, man, I don't think I'm ever going to get this. And I always feel like I keep messing up. But you know what? These are moments to say, but I start today. So let that be for all of us to say, today I start again. Just like the moon is being renewed in the cycle, so too we can be renewed as well. And so I want us to be encouraged to take the opportunity to take a deep breath and relax and say, today's a new day. It's a new month, and it's a continuation of a cycle that Yahweh put in place from the beginning of time so we'd have these markings. And so he tells us to celebrate them, so we should also be rejoicing in the idea that we see time moving, but also the idea that things do renew. That's one of the beauties that we look up to the moon, because the moon, it's still the same moon. It's not like it's a different moon than it was last month. But you watch it go through a cycle to where it disappears, and then it comes back and grows until it's full, and then it disappears again, and it goes through a process. And we are also going through a process. And so let us be encouraged and be strengthened by participating in this in our own way, by taking these moments to say, you know, you don't have to wait for New Year's to make resolutions. That's a human, secular thing anyway. But every time you get these opportunities, you can make your own resolutions to say, I'm going to do a little bit better at least this month. I'm going to try harder, be more committed to covenant. Okay, be more committed. Well, let's go back to, I'm going to read this again. I like the definition of covenant because we're talking about going right now into the Hanukkah celebration. And I looked up the definition for, oops, did I lose it? Oh, I hit the wrong thing and it disappeared on me. Let's do it again. Okay. Let's look up the definition of dedication. Because Hanukkah in Hebrew simply means dedication, which is why we call it the Feast of Dedication. And because it relates back to the rededicating of the temple. But also, I think, because we know in 1 Corinthians that we're told we are the temple. on a certain level. We're the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. And so therefore, shouldn't we be also looking to rededicate ourselves? We have a teaching called A Time to Rededicate Yourself. So dedication, sometimes I think we see like people getting awards for achievements. And I think one of the words that always comes up is dedication. One of the reasons why they're getting this big trophy or whatever it is because of a career of dedication or their dedication to their craft or to their art or whatever it is. But he wants us to be dedicated to him. And dedication has in it the idea, I read this earlier, but I'll read it again, of commitment, of application. I like that. We have to apply ourselves. Diligence, resolve, enthusiasm, zeal, conscientiousness. I think, a lot of people are walking through life unconscious. I really do. They're just going through life. They're not thinking very much, and they're not very aware. So I think we have to think about the idea of that if we're going to be dedicated, we have to be conscientious. We have to be awake and paying attention. Industrious. That's again making that effort. Perseverance, persistence. That means how do we react when it gets tough? You persevere, you persist. You have tenacity. You're going to cling, you're going to cleave, you're going to hold on. You're going to just keep going and have drive and staying power. It says more. Let me see what else it's got. Nope, that's all I really wanted from that there. Okay, I see what it just gave me for the other word. All right, but these are all things that are a very big part of the idea. Now, it also talks about in dedicating, like as in a church or a building, it talks about the idea of being sanctified, consecrated. These are all things that we can think about as well. So this is the Feast of Dedication. This is the 7th night beginning, so tomorrow is the 7th day of the feast. By tradition and by the way we count time, it starts the night before into the day. I know there seems to be a lot of confusion about that. Maybe we'll do a teaching on that at some point, where people think that some days start in the morning or the night and all this other stuff. It is still my belief that we start with the evening and then the day. And so as the sun goes down, the next day begins. And like our life starts in darkness and then we come out of the womb, the new moon starts in darkness and then it starts to develop into light. And so it is the beginning of the 7th day of Hanukkah. Now, let me grab this. Okay, so now, just because I said we'd say it again, so just for clarification, the celebration of Hanukkah is a tradition that the Jewish community started after the defeat of the Greeks in the days of the Maccabees, which is about 165 or so BC, okay? And so we have the excitement that they had in cleansing the temple out. They tried to get it done in time for Sukkot, but they didn't get it done fast enough. But they were so hoping and so excited to do that 8-day festival, because Sukkot is 7 days plus the one additional day, Shemini Atzeret. So they're going to have the 8 days that they decided, okay, we're not going to do like a Jeroboam and move the feast to a month or two late. Let's just have our own feast, but we'll call it the Feast of Dedication. We'll just have a celebration that we're so excited we're rededicating the temple. And you know what? They liked it so much the next year they said, let's do it again and again and again and again. You even see this in John chapter 10, verse 22, I believe, where Yeshua is sitting during the Feast of Dedication on Shlomo's porch. So it's mentioned there in the Birkat HaShah. Now, it doesn't mention it in a good way or a bad way, it just mentions it. And so we see today, again, as we talk about traditions, and I talked about this previously, there are two and only two things that make a tradition a problem. Otherwise, your traditions are fine. If your tradition turns out to be in some way against Torah or interfering with the observance of Torah, it's no good. If your tradition is elevated to be treated as if Yahweh actually commanded it when he didn't, that also is no good. Otherwise, it's good to have traditions. Paul even says, keep the traditions I've taught you. Because traditions help bring meaning and understanding and relationship to the things that you do. So traditions are good. And after all, if you have a real problem with traditions, then you are not going to be allowed to watch the Fiddler on the Roof next time we play it. Tradition. Okay. So it is a tradition, so there is no requirement within the Torah observant body to do what we're doing today. However, if you decide to do so, I want to explain some of the things we're doing. So we have this lighting of candles, which can be looked at from what I believe the more accurate point of view is that the big deal about the temple was that it wasn't just for sacrifices and it wasn't just needing to be cleaned out, but it had a flame that was burning all the time. It was called the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame, the flame that was kept burning continuously. And there were Levites who were given the job that was their job. They had to make sure that light was always burning. There was always oil in that lamp to keep it going. If you go to a Jewish synagogue, they have a light like that is always on. It never turns off. It is there, Ner Tamid. It's in the sanctuary by the Aron, by where the Torah scrolls are. Okay? And so, after all, they rededicated the temple. What was one of the first things they were going to do? They were going to light that flame. And now that light would be shining again in the community of Israel. And so they were so excited to have that light. And so for the 8 days, they lit these candles. Now, I think some years later, somebody was explaining to their grandchildren or something about the light. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We have no documentation. They claimed that there was only enough oil for the light to burn for 1 day, but that it burned the whole 8. Which also was the amount of time it would have taken to press more oil to have it for the light. And that's why it took them that long to make new oil to use for the light. So did that happen? Nobody knows. There is no documentation that we can point to. But that's another tradition that there was this miracle, okay, with the light. It certainly was a miracle that the Jews kicked the Greeks out and won the battle. Okay, that certainly in itself was a miracle. Okay, so when the children sing a song about a great miracle happening, it doesn't necessarily mean about the oil burning. Okay, Yahweh intervened, the Maccabees were able to overcome much greater odds, and they were able to then reclaim and rededicate the temple. Okay, now of course we know the metaphor of light very clearly through teachings like the teaching I did called Yeshua, the light of the world. We see how Torah, Yeshua, the truth, all these things, life is also connected to light. And so this is very important as well. So that light burning is very important, the light that would be inside of us. Now, so on the tables here, we're going to light the menorahs. Some people say, well, you know, the real symbol is a seven-branch menorah, and that's Yahweh's symbol. That is true. But nowhere does it say you can't have a 3-branched, or 2, or 8, or 20, as long as you're not claiming it's Yahweh's temple menorah. The one in the temple had 7. Now, I can promise you that people in their homes, in their tents, and other places had lamps, because the oil would come in through the lamps. They would burn as much as they could burn in there to make the light brighter. They would have sometimes multiple outlets for the different lights. So don't think it unusual that, because someone says, well, I'm not going to get a 9-branch because that's not right. It's supposed to be 7. Well, yes, it's supposed to be 7 if you're putting it in the temple. We're not putting these in the temple. We're using these as a representation of the 8 days of Hanukkah and the light shining in the temple for those 8 days that got rededicated. Now, then why are there 9? Now, it's almost like the Jews really have an understanding of Yeshua, the servant, of Isaiah 53, the servant, because the tallest candle of the 9 is known as the Shamash, the servant. And so that candle is used not to count as one of the 8, but to light the others as the servant candle. So that's why there's 9. And so that's part of the tradition. So we have those, we call them Chanukiahs on the table here. Then we're going to light 7 tonight. And the last thing I want to say before we actually go through all of this is the blessings. Because I know sometimes people will have a challenge with some of the Hebrew blessings, because the Jewish traditional blessings will often say in the blessing that Yahweh commanded something that he hadn't really commanded. Like, for example, the blessing that's said over lighting the Sabbath candles. I can't find that commandment anywhere in the Torah. And so we have changed the wording when we do the lighting of candles on Shabbat to say, who gave us Yeshua, the light of the world, and things like that. We don't talk about he commanded us to light Shabbat candles, because he didn't. However, the blessing for Hanukkah says that he instructed us to light the candles of Hanukkah. Here's the challenge. Hanukkah is actually a Hebrew word that means dedication. But we leave the word Hanukkah in there because we think we're referring to the holiday or the celebration called Hanukkah. Well, let's change the words to what it should say. He has instructed us to kindle the light of dedication. Can we agree that even if it's not overtly in Scripture anywhere, he certainly hinted that very clearly, that we should have the light of Yeshua, the light of dedication burning in us. And so I don't think it would be a problem at all when we say the first blessing to say, "Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who sanctified us by your commandments and has instructed us to kindle the light of Hanukkah," the light of dedication. Okay? See, we get locked into that secular way of thinking, or maybe Christian way of thinking, that a holiday has a name. Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Easter, Christmas, right? Names, that's the name of the thing. We forget that there's actually means something. Well, Hanukkah means dedication. And so we can certainly translate not only all the other words of the Hebrew, but translate the word Hanukkah to dedication. And I think we have a blessing that works quite nicely. Amen? Amen. Okay. So let's go ahead and light the Hanukkah candles. Am I coming over to light this big one over here? You're going to have to move. I don't need more. I got 6 lighters here. I only need 1. Okay, so if we're going to do this by tradition, the tradition is to light the shamash candle first, and then while you're lighting the other candles, you recite the blessings. Now, of course, if you're doing this many years in a row, you know the blessings by heart, so you don't have to look at the paper and try to light candles at the same time. Okay, because I was raised where we did this every year for my whole life. Now, also by tradition, you light the newest candle first, which would be the 7th candle, which is on your left. If you're facing the menorah, it should be on your left. And then you light all the way back to the first candle on your right. Okay? Okay, so first we're going to light the shamash candle. You can do that now. Get the candle for me. Okay. No, she can hold it. All right. We ready for the blessings? We have the candles lit? Okay. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and has instructed us to kindle the light of dedication. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavoteinu, bayamim hahim, ba'azman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days and at this time. Amen. And I've got a couple of stubborn candles here. Who gave me the trick menorah? You guys, you're just messing with the rabbi. I see how you are. Anybody got a blowtorch? I know somebody actually did that earlier this week and almost melted the whole candle in the first shot. All right, there we go. Yeah! All right. Happy Hanukkah! All right, now we're going to really be into some good stuff here.
Wait.
I will. All right, the children are going to come up and sing, so let's get the children all lined up. Marty, I moved this around. How do you want this set?
Hopefully I didn't mess it up. So when we...
Come here. It's all going over the internet. If they go too far forward, they'll be in front of the microphone. That was awesome. I almost think we should make them do it all over again. And let me tell you, the Rockettes think they've got this thing down. All doing it in synchronized thing, that's easy. Doing it the mess that we had here, that takes practice. Don't think it's so easy for everybody to be different. Those Rockettes, that's all easy, you know, they're all kicking and whatever, you know. Alternating the way they did, it was amazing. Loved it. Okay, that was fabulous. And actually, I heard everybody. That was great. You sang loud. I'm so proud of you. Great job. Awesome. All right, so that's going to conclude our Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh celebrations. And so for those of you on the live stream, we're going to say shalom and goodbye. Okay? Happy Hanukkah. Oh, I like the way it sounded. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3. Happy Hanukkah! All right, good night, everyone.